Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Elbows Down MotoGP podcast. My name is Alex Higginson, and for the first time this year, Jimmy and I are together. Not in that way, we're back together doing a podcast.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to everybody, because this is, like we say, our first of the year, and we've had a few personal things going on behind the scenes, and just haven't really had the time to get back and do podcasts. But from now on, you can rest assured, for those of you who care, that we'll be back doing weekly episodes. Obviously, we've got quite a lot of news coming out of the last couple of weeks, especially with some team launches for MotoGP, also one for Moto2. And we're going to be talking about those in this episode.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, we have a mini episode in between Christmas and New Year with Grassroots Grand Prix. Obviously, as Alex said, he's had some quite serious family issues, but overcome that to a degree now, and obviously back to business. So obviously, we all know we've seen the 4 launches, okay, and we've seen a Moto2 launch as well. We don't really learn much apart from what the sponsors want to hear, and the riders are kissing the team's ass to a degree. We know that.
They can be pretty dull.
They can be, yeah. Not as dull as pre-event press conferences. They're the worst, though. They really are the worst.
Yes, there's those.
Sometimes you text me and I'm watching the press conference. I'm like, why? And there's nothing else to do.
Let's face it, it's usually if it's Qatar or Portugal the other year, where it's the first race of the year. You're so excited for it. You're like, I'm watching the presser. And you're like, why am I watching the presser? This is depressing. Anyway, so we're going to talk first and foremost about the launches. And the first one that we had was the satellite team for Aprilia, Trackhouse Racing's team launch. Which, for those of you who are familiar with Moto3 liveries, I think Jimmy and I have pretty much agreed that we're seeing a sort of Boe Motorsport-esque livery.
Exactly. Just Google Boe Motorsport, B-O-E, Boe Motorsports, and the livery. It will come up it looks very similar to that. People saying Suzuki, which I get because it's got the fluoro yellow on next to the blue, but it looks more like that. But yeah, if you look closely, they've also, I don't know if they're cash strapped already. They've put that over the old livery, which is interesting. But maybe it was just because it was time. They don't really care. They're focusing on the serious part of the year, but we'll see, because they've only got Gulf that was announced. The Gulf, the oil giant, which is they're synonymous with beautiful liveries in Le Mans. A few Formula 1 Williams liveries as well. But they never said it was going to be title sponsors, did they?
No, and I think a lot of people were kind of expecting the baby blue and the orange of Formula 1 cars of the past and Le Mans, like you said. But I think one thing that we can be sure of is that they've gone for a very similar livery to the Chevrolets that you see in NASCAR. Very similar with the fluoro yellow trim and the sort of electric blue, I guess.
It's not quite baby. Yeah, you could say electric. I mean, I think his helmet's more electric. The RI is beautiful that he uses, by the way. I love the Japanese. The Japanese graphics now, it's a fantastic. Yeah, electric blue. We'll go with that for the fairing as well. But yeah, I mean, is it an accident? I mean, was there actually, I don't know if I actually saved a picture of Ralph Fernandez on it, but I do think it's very possible that Aguirre could beat Ralph Fernandez his first year, and that'll be 22, 23, 24, 25 is his 4th full season in MotoGP for Ralph Fernandez, which is mental when you really you still think of him as that long ago.
It doesn't feel that long ago that we saw him on that bright orange KTM, the Tech 12 KTM, and then obviously we saw him in the really dull R&F colours, and now then last year's Trackhouse Aprilia, and then this year, which is just a completely different livery altogether. We can definitely say this year so far, this is the most drastically changed livery. Obviously, with the Gulf sponsorship being not a massive part in it, but they've got a few different sponsors here and there, so there's definitely a big change. And as we'll touch on the other team launches in a minute, but Trackhouse is definitely the most.
It's completely different, and sadly they've lost Cyril Garda.
They have lost Cyril Garda.
To the Works team, which we'll touch on, as Alex said, in a second. But yeah, that is a shame. I want to mention this. I mean, in your opinion, Alex, do you think they would have had more interest from American sponsorship if they had hired Joe Roberts? I mean, on paper you'd think so, but results speak.
I think had the announcement been made earlier on in the 2024 season, that they were pretty much going to, if they were doing something similar like Ducati did with Fermin Aldeguer, where they basically said, look, you know what, we had a cracking end of his 2023 season, 2024 season, whatever, we're going to sign him. Joe Roberts' beginning of his 2024 season was so strong, so dominant. He led the championship. He
looked like a changed man, didn't he?
He looked like a changed man. He looked like a new Joe Roberts, from his time at Italtrans, where nothing really...
He nearly won the USGP as well.
Nearly won the USGP. Oh. And then, obviously, I think, had it been announced prior to his injury, then that he was going to MotoGP, I think we'd see a different livery, to be honest.
I mean, yeah. We speculate what companies would have got involved.
Yeah, exactly.
And
well, this is what I mean. Imagine all the different sponsors that the US could bring to the table if they had an American in MotoGP for the first time in God knows how long. I mean, since Nicky Hayden.
Yeah, that's marketing right there. Good-looking guy as well. I mean, that helps sponsors. I mean, say what you like, it does to a degree. Obviously, on track is what matters, but things like this do. I'm honestly looking at that, and I hope they do get a title sponsor or something else before the season starts. Just put some really soft tyres on, the first day of testing, and then to see if one of them can get in the top 5, and then but no fuel in it. I like 1 lap of fuel, do a flying lap on a soft tyre. Like, oh, come in, sponsor us! Look how fast we are. That old trick.
I'm not sure if sponsors are that stupid.
Yeah. I mean, they might not be able to disclose it, but we'll see. I think there might be something else on there before the season starts.
So we've had
Ralph. It doesn't even say Aprilia on the side of it.
No, it doesn't.
Just a track house.
Yeah. So we've had Raul Fernandez and Aigura's team launch for Trackhouse Racing, and now we've got a completely all new team for the Works Aprilia Racing team. Obviously, we've got Marco Bezzecchi. And then the big talking point that loads and loads of people are banging on about is Jorge Martin.
Number 1.
I mean, did anyone really think he was going to go for the number 89? No. I mean, look, he's one of these guys that he's been fighting for this for so long, as he said. Now he's moved. Well, he didn't have a number, did he, in the test? So now he's moved from Ducati to Aprilia. He's obviously thinking, well, I'm going from a superior bike to the inferior European manufacturer's bike. I'm probably not going to get this done again in 2025, so let's get that number 1 while we can, which is completely fair enough.
I think he's quite... Honestly, I think listening to a few Jorge and Bear's interviews during launch, just don't listen to all of it because it's just so for the sponsors, but... he genuinely does sound like he's like a new beginning. He's happy that he's got works treatment. And if you look at, considering it, if you really look at the old results, do we really think he's not as naturally gifted as the likes of Aleix or Maverick? No, we don't. So if they can, get poles, wins, sprint wins, why can't Jorge? On what Aprilia say is a massively improved 25 hours GP.
The big thing with that is that it basically sounds like that Aprilia have started from scratch. We know from looking at these images, well, first and foremost, that these Aprilias that we're looking at aren't 2025 bikes. They're not even 2024 bikes. They are 2023 bikes. So you can't deduce anything from...
Yeah, they're not that stupid, are they?
No, you can't deduce anything from what you see of the bikes. So remember that when you're looking at the team launches, you're not actually looking at the spec bikes. You're looking at basically a frame for the livery.
Yeah. Once the blue moon, you'll see that. If the livery's launched well into February in testing, then maybe they've got no choice to put it on the new bike because it's about to go on track. But that's it. But I've noticed this year, maybe it happened last year, but 4 launches before, let's say 25th of Jan. That's quite early, considering some of the launches used to be late Feb, early March, just before the first race. Massively early in the year, but I'm not complaining. It gives us some film.
I mean, this could be another move that potentially. Obviously, I know that there's been a few changes with the Liberty Media takeover from Dorna. But if you think about it from the perspective of gaining more fans and more people into the sport, you want to keep people. You want some consistency. You want to keep people engaged. So if you just have a team launch, shakedown test, season all congested into 9 months, then you're going to have 3 months of absolutely
nothing. Nothing. But I mean, they don't do that. They don't do that with Formula One, but that's because they don't need to, because Formula One sells itself.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if you look at that though, the sponsors, you text me, you're saying it's like a newspaper, and you're not wrong.
I texted you saying compared to the Trackhouse Aprilia, it looks like a newspaper.
Yeah. I mean, of course, the iPad's freezing on me, but it doesn't matter. But yeah, Serra Garda now is it has a bigger prominence.
Well, it is where it is on the fairing now is where it used to be on the fairing for the Trackhouse.
Yeah. I'm counting 4 or 5 new sponsors there. It's definitely 4. So yeah, they're doing well financially, having the world champion and having an Italian back in the team. I think that's the first Italian for Aprilia since Iannone.
Yeah,
and that was when it was Aprilia Grassini, which was a factory team that ran by Grassini. So really,
an Italian team.
Yeah, but really big.
It's huge for them, especially when you consider that Bez was a big title contender in 2023, and obviously everyone that knows Bez as a rider is kind of considering his 2024 season as a bit of a write-off because he just couldn't relate to the GP23. When he was on GP22, he was dominating. Even when the other riders, he could blame the tyres. Yeah. But even when the other riders were on the supposedly superior GP23 back in 2023, Bez was doing an incredible job.
Yeah. More gloss on there as well. I've just noticed, Al.
24, sorry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. They all know what you mean. There's more gloss on this bike around the tank area. Is that for overheating by any chance? It might not be.
It's always been a very matte effect.
Yeah, but
thing, but there is a lot of gloss on the bike compared to previous years. It's all. I think when you look at the Aprilia, the factory Aprilia, it's a very matte black. All the black on it is very matte black, which you don't like, do you? You don't.
Maybe it's, call me old folk. I know it's an old people thing to say. A lot of people told me, for customers that work by helmets, I want matte black. Why? But it is a thing. But apparently, obviously for race bikes and race cars, apparently most of the mats that teams buy is lighter than gloss. So it's not. It's a performance based thing as well. You're going to say, "Why you're going to do it, aren't you?" But then Aprilia, look, it could be just part of the livery. But if you zoom in, you can see the glossy bits. Whether that's just to reflect more heat, I don't know. I can't see how much difference it would make. There is actually more black on that bike than last year. You look at last year's bike, there was more red on it. But it's about deflecting the heat with aero. I don't think paint's going to do that much difference.
I mean, there was that sort of, we had a bit of a joke about it a few months ago.
A little bit, of course it will, but...
because obviously when in 2023, when we went to the flyaways, the Aprilia riders especially were complaining about the heat that was generated by the bike, and having to, Raul Fernandez retired from the race, and from flyaway races. The Aprilia riders were really suffering with the heat coming off the bike, and I said at the time, I was, what? I wonder what would happen if they painted the bikes white, because whatever. And anyway, and then I thought, it was a bit of a joke, and then Maverick Vinales said it a few months.
He did,
last year, didn't he? He was like, wanted the bikes for white. And I was like, there we go. I'm not a complete moron.
If you Google, folks, Google the 2004 Aprilia MotoGP bike, and that's white. Well, not all white, but it's a lot of white with Jeremy McWilliams, but that's another conversation. Moving on.
Slightly different machine as well.
Yeah. That sounded fantastic. Go on YouTube and search the Cube.
RSQ.
Whatever is that way. But yeah, I mean, I think Aprilia can do more damage than people are saying. I think. Yes, they'll struggle. Jorge has been stressing. He's been saying he has one of the best front ends ever. Some people were saying, is he just saying that because he's just been hired? He's already hired. He's under contract. I think look at his body language when he comes off the bike during the test. He genuinely likes the front end of that bike. A rider that enjoys the front end is a happy, confident rider.
Yeah. Also remember that these two, Jorge Martin and Marco Bezzecchi, for these two, bearing in mind that yes, one of them is a world champion. This is the first time that they'll be on a factory spec bike. And think about it this way: this is just my brain ticking over and doing weird stuff.
Team, yeah, you're right, yeah.
But as a team, right? You think about factory Ducati, and we've got Pecco, and Marc Marquez. And then we've got in Aprilia, who are like a sort of, I don't know, it's a worse bike.
You could argue. It's
and then you've got like Timu Marquez, which is Martin, and Timu Bagnaia, which is Bezzecchi.
There you go. Keep that one.
Sometimes I need to think before I open my mouth. Genuinely, I did see something quite funny though the other day about Pecco Bagnaia needing to keep his beard because without it he looks like Rowan Atkinson. That was pretty funny.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, honestly, without someone said, "For God's sake, Pecco, keep your beard," and then they put a picture of him without his beard next to a picture of Mr. Bean, and they look the same.
I think, no disrespect to Rowan Atkinson, but
no. If anything, that's a compliment for Rowan Atkinson.
Yeah, I'd say he's probably good. He's a better looking guy. Let's be honest, Pecco is, but I don't think he's definitely not as funny as
Rowan Atkinson's better looking Pecco.
Oh yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I'd say so. No, I don't know if Pecco could do the eyebrow raise.
Oh, it'd be lovely to see him try, but yeah, we're getting far.
Anyway, Gresini
Ducati. First thing I thought, people who've watched as long as I have. Well, it's not that long ago. Well, it is kind of 2013. It's not yet. 2013 Yamaha, factory Yamaha with Lorenzo and Rossi was the last bike to have chrome on it. Gresini ditch.
Yeah.
Gresini ditched the red, which they've had since 2022. And in 23 and 24, they had that stripe going down the side, didn't they? Off the front. Ditched that, and still got Estrella. They've still got no title sponsor.
They've got a little bit of red if you're looking down.
Yes, they do. Still there. A little bit of red going on.
Towards the foot peg.
Yeah. But really, really classy again presentation. The teams are not holding back on launching this year. I don't think the KTM launch will be very.
And Trackhouse did.
Yeah, sorry.
Trackhouse was in some warehouse in Dorset,
Charlotte, wasn't it? Yeah, in the States.
And what was it?
Sorry, so that was the only one. Dorset, yeah. The Dorset of the States.
Yes.
No, but yeah, apart from Trackhouse, Alex is right. The other three launches were pretty swish. There's Ducati, obviously. To take all the journalists and everyone that invited skiing for 3 days, booze and food. Did you see that? That was ridiculous.
Yes. Did you hear who wasn't allowed to go skiing? Marquez. It's in his contract, apparently. I don't know if this is a joke or not. I think he's contractually not allowed to go skiing.
Is this to do with his arm by any chance?
This is to do with Ducati. Ducati have said that he's not allowed to. Part of his contract is that he's not allowed to go skiing.
Don't know how I've missed that, but yeah, I need to look at that.
I think it might be a joke.
Unless someone's having but yeah, the thing is, I remember at the start of the year, the Rossini said they didn't want to have entertain a load of big sponsors that were there for Mark, and then they'll lose them, and then they'll have to kiss goodbye to all these other sponsors, and then be cash strapped for the start of 25 because they're pissed off their old sponsors because they made way for new ones.
Yeah,
they didn't do that. They had maybe one other one, and that was it. And then Mark's gone. They've not really lost anything. They've still got the same sponsors. Very clever from Gresini. It's not affected them at all.
And one sponsor that has travelled over from Mark being at Gresini to him being at Factory Ducati, which obviously we're going to talk in a minute, is Estrella Galizia.
Yes.
So that's a big talking point.
So their involvement goes to two teams now.
Yeah, their involvement goes to 2 teams. So obviously we've got if you look on the front fairing of the Gresini Ducati, on either side, on the cheeks, you've got the Estrella Galizia.
That's it. To be fair, it's not really the Ducati team as well. Factory team, it's mainly just Mark.
Yes, yeah. Well, that's what I mean.
But it's not.
It's not across the whole team. It's just.
I would not bet against that in the future, though. I would not bet against that in the future. To be fair, Fermin Aldeguer, obviously one of the rookies this year. I think it's very possible that he can have a Fabio Quartararo style first year.
I like his number font and how it goes in. Yes. How the colour of the yellow is kind of matching.
Shades of Dovi, shades of Rossi, Mir.
The Antangin, or Antangin, whatever that is. It's kind of almost blending in with that, with the red going around the 54 and the red of the text on the Antangin logos, which is both on the forearms and on around the windscreen of the
yellow numbers just
windscreen.
Work, don't they?
They do. Which is so much better than what we've seen from the Factory Ducati team, where it's going to be very, very difficult. Just looking at the front fairing, telling which bike is which.
Yes, we'll get to in a second. But yeah, Gresini, early days. We'll do our proper predictions after the test, but I think Rossini, I think Alex Marquez. I mean, I've written down here in my notes, right? Will Alex Marquez ever win a Grand Prix?
Yes.
Right, okay. There we go. That wasn't hard. He's won a sprint. He'll win another sprint, I'll tell you that.
I think he will.
I tell you what, I'm actually almost a bit worried for the rest of the field this year, because if every other team, every rider apart from Mark and Pecco and Digi, every other Ducati rider will have a 24 bike which dominated the championship. Dominated. So
and it was a much more user friendly bike than the GP23.
Yeah. Where the 25 is, we don't know yet. We haven't seen it yet. We won't see it till Feb. So we'll have to wait and see there. But I mean, a rookie getting a GP24 is it's like Furman. Did you really deserve that? Well, 2023, yes, you did. But I mean, he's really, really going to have to hit the ground running. He's got a good teammate. I think Alex Marquez is a good teammate to have as a target as a rookie. I really think that's a really sensible teammate. If it was Mark, it'd be like, really. But yeah, I think it's a good teammate for Furman to have. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, people said, why is Fabio getting that ride at Petroni's Yamaha in 2019? Well, look what happened. We'll have to wait and see. If he clicks with the bike, he could be devastatingly fast for all we know.
Yeah.
He could be the talk of the season. So we'll have to wait and see.
And Aldeguer's got more Moto2 wins than Quartararo did. So.
Yep, exactly. That's a very good point. And Alex Marquez is a double world champion. So a good target to have. Still one of the most fun, exciting teams that we see. It's almost a shame they've lost Mark, because it put them on TV so much, and it was the party team of the year from the TV's perspective, and people who worked in the paddocks at the same thing. But look, it's very them to go glossy. It's not glossy, chromy, isn't it? So yeah, that should look good.
That's great.
Yeah, it does look good. But yeah, moving on from Gresini, the Ducati Lenovo launch, Marc Marquez in red. It's very similar to what I thought it would be, although as you were saying, these numbers, man. I mean,
His number's smaller than usual as well.
It is, because it's to fit.
To fit all those bloody sponsors on.
To fit the 93 between the Frecciarossa and Lenovo. And you can't get... Normally it's like this, isn't it?
Yeah.
No chance. But it was always a red 93. Well, the last few years it's been, so there's no way. And Pecco has got this... If you zoom in, he's got a new logo. And it's got like this red cloudy camo. But when it's on the bike, this new logo, it looks like they've overspilt some paint.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Would it have killed them to have that white? Anyway, my OCD there, folks. Pathetic.
But then people might think that it's an Nea Bastianini from last year, because he had a white 23.
Was it not? No, it was. Yeah. Because it was the year before it was pink and it looked awful. But
yeah, it was dreadful.
I mean that obviously is not a GP25. We know that. So that's just Ducati being clever. Same sponsors really. They don't need any more when they've got
It's so weird seeing Mark in red.
It is, yeah. It's hard to get used to. Tell you what, that helmet, folks. That Estrella, we were talking about Estrella. Obviously, no more Red Bull, but he's not. Well, he's got Monster everywhere else, but the helmet.
He's got Monster on his cap, on his leathers, and on the bike, but not on his lid.
Those Hawkeye people know that most Red Bull athletes have the Red Bull logo there. Mark never did that. He had it underneath there, and the yellow bit at the front. Obviously, Estrella now replacing Red Bull on his helmet, not Monster. He says in respect to them, I think it's also in case in the future he can go back to Red Bull.
I think
that's lovely.
Genuinely, one of the weirdest things about seeing Mark in red is that we're so used to seeing him in the Repsol Honda colours. Then we just about got used to seeing him in the Gresini colours.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden now we've got to have the change to the opposite colour. So I think he looks brilliant.
He does. Yeah. Of course, he immediately suits it.
A woman came into the pub the other day wearing what looked like Marc Marquez's test livery. She had red shoes.
That is bright, then.
Red shoes. You know, old ladies, they all like to be colour coordinated to hell. And this lady was wearing red shoes with red trousers and a red coat and a red hat. And I thought, oh, Mark. Oh, no, it's just some little old lady. Oh, gin and tonic. Yeah. So
no, looks good. He does look good.
He does look really, really good. Very little changes to the livery as a whole. There's a bit more black on the bike, especially the Lenovo.
I think that's the
title sponsorship.
Maybe. It could be the
bit
fairing.
more black around, just under the.
Some people have first, but some people love this shit.
The arse seats.
Listen up. But yeah, I've noticed they used to have this bit, the fluo red that goes through the centre.
Yeah,
went up like that. Now it goes straight down, but it also goes onto the.
Is the shell badge bigger as well?
Maybe, but
And also, I don't think they used to have the shell thing on the swing arm, but I could be wrong.
I think they have. No, no, they had it there before. Yes, but sorry, folks. It's it's been on there before. And
no, it has. Yeah, no.
So one thing I need to ask this question in the future is there's some sponsors that only appear on the bike and never the leathers.
Yeah,
and some that appear on the leathers, never the bike. But yeah, that's something. That's a Twitter thing, really. But yeah, Mark was good. He looks confident. He looks really laid back. There's no mind games. They look really friendly. Gavin Emmett from TNT Sports did a little interview. That was funny, actually. I watched a bit of that. Mark being told off by Ducati in the factory, the canteen, not to put parmesan on. Was it a seafood pasta or something? But yeah, Mark loving life, and Pecco's just Pecco being a gent. And I still think
he's really leaning into it now, though, isn't he?
I still think Mark will get into his head, and that's not me trying to stir things up because it's good to do that for the sport. But if Mark starts to beat him on a regular basis, and there will be times obviously Pecco's going to beat him anyway, we know that. But if they have they've already touched once, and it didn't take long, did it? Portimao last year, that was early on in the season.
I think Pecco's going to be a really interesting character this year because there's several reasons why, and I feel like you could almost write an essay on Pecco Bagnaio's mindset. But think about it this year. He's got a massive character in the box with him. He also he's been kind of just known as like the calm, cool, collected character.
Yeah.
Not to sound too much like Matt Burt there. But he's now apparently leaning into the whole I'm a gentleman thing. Obviously, we saw Davide Tardozzi bollocking him last year for being a gentleman.
Obviously, if you haven't seen it, folks, by the way, sorry, Alex. That's on YouTube. That's the obviously documentary that Ducati uploaded, the official Ducati course account, I believe it is. Like a mini documentary. I think there's 4 or 5 episodes. Yeah. Really, really good.
Yeah.
And it wasn't for the camera. You can tell it's hidden. They probably shouldn't be recording, unless it was. I think Ducati probably thought we'll record it and see what happens. But yeah, Davide Tardozzi really verbally laying into him, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Stop being a gentleman. Martin knew what he was going to do and got into your head. It's really good.
Anyway, so it's almost like now Pecco has thought, right, well, I'm known as a gentleman. I'm not going to change my attitude because I'm just chill as fuck. Yeah. And I'm going to lean into it. So you can tell just from that thing that you were talking about with Gavin Emmett, where Pecco uses the word gentleman. It's almost like he's taking the mick out of that. And I think that we're going to see a more relaxed Pecco than we did in 2024, because he knows that he's now got a completely different adversary to what he had in Jorge Martin.
Whether that makes him relaxed, he's better in his head than I thought he was.
Yeah,
but we'll have to see.
I genuinely think he's going to. I genuinely think that he's going to go for that this year, and go for that sort of cool, calm, and collected thing, and lean into it more and more and more because people want him to snap. And I think that the mind games have already started, because I think Pecco has started them. I think he wants Mark to think that he is just like, blah, yeah, whatever.
The thing is, Mark, I know what you mean. I think Mark.
But you think I'm wrong?
No, I think Mark's not stupid and knows that Pecco. He's good at fighting back. Pecco beat Mark in it wasn't a fair fight in Jerez. You could argue. By the way, it was a fair fight in Jerez. That was a great race. The reason I say it might not have been is because the GP23 it was nowhere near last year at the 24.
Yeah.
But that day, the GP20, they always say, don't they, early on in the season, the new bikes aren't exactly fully dialed in yet. So Pecco fought back well and won that fair and square. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know. We all thought Mark would still win the championship with Euro bike, didn't we, last year? We thought it'd easily happen, and it didn't. We didn't anticipate the gap between the bikes.
Yeah, we also thought Pedro Acosta would be winning races and running rings around.
We did, yeah.
GP23
and technically, he really ought to have done win 2 races anyway. But anyway, we'll have obviously in a couple of weeks we'll have the KTM launch. Well, more than a couple of weeks, but.
Yeah, so I think we've got... Tell you the one that I'm most looking forward to is I'm really, really looking forward to Pramac Yamaha.
Yeah, and that's a joint one, isn't it, with the Monster Yamaha?
Yes, I think they are. But I'm really looking forward to it because the thing is, with all the teams are established already in MotoGP, but we've got a new team coming in this year. Obviously, we've not seen a satellite Yamaha since 21, have we? Yeah. So obviously, with RNF moving over to since 20.
Satellite Yamaha team, yeah, no, you're right. 2021
was the last time.
No, it wasn't.
2022.
22 because it was.
Because RNF went to Aprilia in 23.
That's right. And in 21 it was Rossi's last year. In 2022 it was Darren Binder and Andrea Dovizioso.
Yes, that's it, yeah.
And obviously sometimes it was Crutchlow when Dovi wasn't there and so on and so forth.
And we had that really, really dull livery from RNF Yamaha. And it then turned into a dull livery.
And then it had that bonkers livery, Valencia.
Yes, yeah.
With Calvos.
So I'm really looking forward to seeing what Pramac Yamaha... Because the thing is that, for me, is Pramac Ducati were, before Prima came in, the Pramac Ducati was one of the most recognisable liveries on the grid. Because, the white in there as well. It was one of the only bikes with white.
A white base.
White base. So we don't know what we're going to see from...
because it's still Prima as a title sponsor. So
which is like a purpley colour.
Yeah. I think...
Yamaha's are sort of traditionally blue. When we had this discussion the other week where you think of different manufacturers, you think of Ducati being red, you think of Kawasaki being green, that sort of thing.
I like that to a degree, actually.
Dark blue being Yamaha, light blue being Suzuki, and orange being KTM. And, so maybe we'll be seeing sort of a blue with a bit of a
I think that
purpley, a bit of a red.
I hope it isn't busy and confused.
I hope it doesn't go that way, really, because if it ends up being a purpley kind of bike, it'll be really hideous.
It doesn't need.
It might not be.
Yamaha might want some. I mean, look, I know, folks, livery talks to the smugglers boring, but put up with it because there's nothing else going on right now. Well, there is a bit. There's some news. So, but when you have corporate colours, they might have a strip of blue there and then the purple. Other than that, I mean, Prima pay the privilege of title sponsor, so they might still want the privilege of that. Yamaha, the corporate colours have only been around since 2000 and the blue ones. Sorry, the blue corporate colours have only been around since 2004. Some of the R1s and the R6s that went on the market, actually 1999, I think. Maybe some of them, like the R6s and R1s came on the market with a new corporate blue. Whereas before it was the red and white was the colours of Yamaha. So all the way through there, if a title sponsor comes along, they can take over, like Camel did in 2006. That was a completely yellow bike. And obviously, Movie Star, that was sort of mixed with blue anyway. But we'll see.
Bluey, greeny sort of horrible splurge.
Someone said the other day...
It's one of my least favourite liveries. Movie Star Yamaha.
Hate it. Do you know, I like the Fiat one. That was nice. The Fiat Yamaha was cool.
Yeah, clean, the Movie Star one was minging. Minging.
I'd like, if it's possible, probably not because Prima is there, but if you had a reverse livery of the factory Monster Yamaha team.
Yeah.
So the base colours are reversed, like, let's say you had Prima blue and then white. Or black, sorry, actually no, for the factory team it's black, isn't it? To be fair, last year Pramac was black, wasn't it? And there was no white on it anymore last year. So anyway, we'll find out and stop speculating about colours basically. But some news. Speaking of the Pramac team, today I saw Jack Miller has lost his Red Bull sponsorship, his personal sponsorship.
Bastard.
He's had that. He's had that a long time as well.
Yeah.
It could be. I mean, it could be budgetary things for Red Bull. The KTM probably needs all their money.
Yeah.
That's not funny, actually. It's a little bit, but it's not.
So,
so that isn't happening for Jack.
Also, Pramac as well. Obviously, we're going to be seeing Pramac not just in MotoGP in 2025. We're going to be seeing them in Moto2 because they will have the Pramac Yamaha Moto2 team.
I wonder if they'll launch that the same day. That's a good point.
That's a good. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
We mentioned earlier on about the Moto2 team that we've seen released. Exciting, especially for us Britons, because we've got Jake Dixon and Philip Salach. My New Year's resolution, one of them was to learn Czech. Not just because we're going to Brno, but because we spend a lot of time. I spend a lot of time in Czech Republic anyway. So I'm very, very excited about the Elf Mark VDS racing team. Their launch was brilliant. Jake Dixon looks fantastic. He's going to be on a Bosco chassis, as is Philip Salach. I think that Philip Salach disappointed me last year. I think that Elf Mark VDS really struggled last year.
Yeah, he needs to book his ideas up there.
He really does. And bearing in mind that in 2023, we were considering Philip Salach for the Gresini Ducati seat before we knew that Marc Marquez was going to have it. So I think that, I think Philip Salach and Jake Dixon looking fantastic in the. He's one of my favourite. Is one of my favourite liveries in just in racing in general is the Mark VDS. So, and it means that I get to Shannon and I, my wife and I, both have teamwear for Elf Mark VDS.
And now,
and obviously last year we just had it for Philip Salach and Tony Arbolino because he bought it back when Sam Lowes was in Moto2. But now we can have...
This makes Dixon the third Brit to ride for Mark VDS. Obviously Scott Redding.
Yeah.
Mark van der Straten obviously has a soft spot for hiring Brits. Well, within reason. Yeah. But
hopefully third time lucky.
That'd be nice. That'd be nice. Oh, they're not short of. I mean, they've won a few championships, but yes, we need a Brit one in there. Sam Lowe should have done it in 2020, but I'm not going to go down that. Yeah.
Bring it home because it would be really nice. Especially, it would just be. I mean, my title favourite for Moto2 is unfortunately Aaron Canet. But I do really. I've grown.
Is that just because it's predictable?
It's it's not predictable. I genuinely think he's grown as.
You said unfortunately.
No, well, unfortunately, it's because it's predictable. That's what I mean. It's unfortunate that my prediction for Moto2 World Champion in 2025 is Karen Canet because it's predictable as fuck. But I really, really, really like this sort of change in mentality and attitude that Aaron Canet has had.
Yeah.
But I would love to see. Now we're getting more Bosco chassis on the grid in Moto2. I would love to see Jake Dixon move from Calex, where he was getting pretty successful, to a Bosco chassis and wipe the floor with it. But we don't know, because he might move to Bosco and absolutely hate it.
Yeah, which to be fair, that he'd be the first one that doesn't like Bosco, so 6 of them.
Apart from Sergio Garcia at the end of last year. Yeah. Or the second half of last year.
Because he didn't get MotoGP ride, yeah.
I don't think that was to do with Bosco. I think that was to do with his brain, poor lad. But
that'll be. I'm looking forward to testing in general, and the lower classes. We'll find out how they get on with that. I mean, we've seen that was those colours there with Dixon in those colours was literally launched on the 1st of January on New Year's Day. And then obviously they've had their launch again, proper launch.
12th, I think.
Proper launch because they had their endurance team launch as well. So. Look forward to some more launches in the coming weeks. Right, some news. More news. The race. One of the leading outlets for MotoGP news, of course, as many of you know. If you're doing it properly. Look, this is absolutely not confirmed, but the rising costs in Moto3 is hurting a lot of these teams, especially as the calendar gets longer. And Grand Prix Moto3 single-cylinder 250 engines don't sound too expensive, but they're quite expensive. They're getting more expensive. And when you've got a competition series, as a feeder series, instead of just having a one-make class like you do in the Formula for the cars, it's getting more expensive. Obviously, look, in the car world, there's so much more money. It's almost irrelevant to a degree. But look, it's getting very expensive for these teams to haul all this round, and we could be looking at more basic engines, like in Moto2.
Yeah.
But with the one-make series and higher capacity.
Yes, so what is being discussed at the moment is that at the moment we've got a 250 single-cylinder 4-stroke engine which we see across the Moto3 class. Those engines are built primarily by KTM and Honda and their subsidiaries, but we're looking at a more like a Moto2 sort of situation where obviously all the engines are provided by Triumph. So in Moto3, all of the engines would be provided by a sole supplier, i.e. Triumph, but not necessarily. And we're looking at a change in engine capacity. That been, well, at the moment, the rumour is a 500cc class.
Yes.
Potentially. Potentially a 500cc 2-cylinder.
I think it's a twin. No,
it's a twin. Sorry, it's a twin.
They don't. I mean, look again. Yeah. These specs are sort of speculative, but a lot of people in the paddock are wanting this to happen just to save costs, because a lot of these teams are just surviving. That's why you'll see a lot of Moto3 teams with not really a title sponsor, but loads of sponsors, little sponsors stick to.
So if you're missing the old 500s, you can have both. You can have. I don't think you can't have both.
I think it's going to be like there's a few single cylinder twins out on the market you can buy. It could be like that, and then massively tuned, and there'll be some different, but like a competition engine version of it, like in Moto2 with the 765 Triumph engine, and then you'll have the chassis, a prototype chassis. Don't get me wrong, folks. It will be a prototype chassis. They won't do that. It won't be just a GSX-R 500 or whatever they call that bike now. It's called something else. Sorry, but I mean that's sort of the lower sports bike spectrum, where it's not full super sport or super bike, but you can get sports 500, something like that, but highly tuned with maybe a Boss's Spirit or a Calyx.
GSX-R.
I think that they call it the 500 something else. My colleague was telling me, because the 500 sports bike is somewhere I'm a bit misty in my head, but it sounds like it'd be a twin. So you still have your thundery deep throat sound of Moto3, but the lap times would be a lot faster, which is going to be strange because they're not going to be too far off the displacement of Moto2. But look, if it even happens, it'll be 2027, and we don't even know how it'll look. I mean, it could be Bosca 500s and Calyx 500s.
Well, yeah, this is it. It's if this is going to happen, which I think it probably should.
I don't want it to, but it probably should.
I don't.
Right?
Yeah, probably should. Yeah. It's not whether or not we want something to happen. Exactly. It's the future of the sport. And if you think about it, you've got Junior GP, which is all Hondas. You've got Red Bull Rookies, which are all KTMs. You get to Moto3, and it's the one out of you've got the two junior categories, and then you've got Moto2. Moto2 is all the same. So why is Moto3 all over the shop with manufacturers' engines? So it makes sense when you think about it from a monetary perspective, especially with the financial issues that KTM are having at the moment, where we're not even sure if KTM will be able to provide engines for future projects in Moto3. So I think it'll be a good move, and fingers crossed. I mean, it's always exciting to see a new in 2027. Obviously, we're going to see the 1000cc engines of MotoGP neck down. We can see with the capacity.
That'd be weird having 850, 765 and 500. That would be strange. But
we might as well throw 350s and 250s and 125s and 50cc's into them. Well.
Yeah, back in the 80s when you had a 500, 250, 125. I think the 350 stopped in the mid 80s, but you did there was a 50 class I think one time ago, or 80. But
the 350s, because that was back in the day when you used to have a world champion across two classes in the same year.
I remember Rossi once said actually. I think it was off the back of his 04-05 title winning year with Yamaha. And I think it was 05. He said, next year I'll see if I can go do 250 as well. Which he was so confident and happy but the 250 Yamaha at the time was no one used it. There was a couple of privateers used it, and it was dog shit.
And so that was shortly before.
That never happened.
Yeah, that was shortly before Rossi decided that one year he was so bored of winning all the time, he was going to try his hand at F1.
Yeah, he had a few tests, didn't he? Yeah,
with Ferrari.
Indeed. But anyway, moving on from that speculation and future Moto3, potential future Moto3.
Oh, Jimmy's going to get really angry now for this next bit.
Well, we're not going to cover this properly because we don't know what the format is. Although they have released the bands for Silverstone MotoGP, and the only one I actually recognised was Jake Bugg. The other two were just DJs I hadn't heard of.
Oh, Christ.
So, yeah. Unless you're a Jake Bugg fan, then you might want to go if you're free that weekend.
Jake Bugg's got a bit of a following. I don't feel like the Silverstone crowd are a massive Jake Bugg kind of crowd.
I think they nailed it in 2023 when we were there. That's the crowd when they had Razorlight, Kaiser Chiefs.
I mean, Razorlight are the most boring band of all time, but they've got a couple of good songs. Kaiser Chiefs, I thought would be. Bear in mind, Kaiser Chiefs were one of the first bands that I ever saw live.
Yes,
when I was a kid, and they were absolutely incredible. And then Chasing Status were Wankatron.
Yeah, there was only one of them there. Anyway, but we saw Kaiser Chiefs for an hour, but it really did feel like I was a kid.
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was so good.
It was good.
Anyway, so we've got Jake Bugg and
two of the DJs. That, by the way, folks, I don't know who they are. Just go on Silverstone website and look.
I haven't even looked this up. But, you carry on.
I'm carrying on because I'm just more annoyed about this event, the Silverstone British MotoGP. Each year they take something away from us, or make something harder for us, or more expensive for us.
Yeah.
So nothing's changed. We have lost. Now this isn't official, but it looks like it's down to Silverstone, not the charity, which is Two Wheels for Life. The Day of Champions is no more. Last year, they've announced, was the last year after 34 events, 34 times it's happened.
Yeah.
Look, some people aren't massive fans of standing there watching the stage all day, but they like going, for an hour or two and going in the paddock. And it's a tradition that I've learnt to love, and there's not many other Grand Prix in the calendar that do that. In fact, I don't think you can pay for that privilege.
Just an interesting thing, while I'm scrolling through Silverstone's website.
He's on it.
Two Wheels for Life are still mentioned.
They are still there, yes. So the schedule for the British Grand Prix with Two Wheels for Life, the new schedule, the new format is the word they're using. It will be announced, they said, in the coming weeks and months. Yeah. So we can't comment. Look, it might be really good still, but look, the Day of Champions is no more. The stage, the auction of that day is no more. I think the stage will be there for the music, and they'll probably have riders just turning up at random segments of the weekend. I
have no idea who's playing because this stupid website.
It's a shit phone, mate.
You're a shit phone. Stupid. How is anyone supposed to find out who's playing? Imagine going on to Glastonbury. It's like, this is stupid.
Right, so Silverstone MotoGP. Okay, if you like Jake Bugg, as I said, fine. They've only just yesterday announced the bands. There we go. So Mr. Jam.
Never heard of him.
And Hard Fi.
Never heard of him.
And Jake Bugg, obviously. So, yeah.
A fetus.
Anyway, so that's what's
happening.
The
guy from Mr. Jams looks like Elon Musk. Excellent.
That's the route we don't want to go down.
No, it isn't.
Anyway, I can't see it being... Honestly, this is... What was it? 44,000 people there last year? I think it'd be
wow.
They'd do well to get over 35. Yeah. Considering we've again got no Brits in MotoGP, and not that there was a great chance last year anyway, for it to be this year, and we've got less bands that are attractive. The tickets will go up, well, they have gone up. They haven't reintroduced complete Friday roving. You can't now bring your alcohol into the track.
Yep.
You've got to buy it there.
That's a big one. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Some of the tracks do it, but
we are a binge drinking society, and I know a lot of you at home will be like, "Oh, I'm doing dry January," or "I'm not a drinker," and all that sort of stuff. But the fact of the matter is that Britain is booze Britain and all that sort of stuff. Whatever. You can't bring your own booze onto the track, and I'm sorry as well. Bike fans. Yeah, tight.
Yeah, they are, and
they don't want to spend £7.50 on a pint of shitty lager.
I think that'll stop as well. I think it'll be alcohol. When I went to Barcelona, a lot of tracks are doing it now. I think even Phillip Island do it off the top of my head. Someone told me. I think was it Lucy? Our guest, Phillip Island last year for the perspective.
Yes.
She did. She said she had a few beers. So, but someone told me that you can't take it into Melbourne or something. Anyway, Barcelona don't do it. And I think it's probably a sign of the times, folks. It really is. You just probably have to buy.
Portimao, you can't bring your own food and beverage.
Don't have to relax that. If they don't, that is stupid.
It's insane. You can't bring your own food in for crying. Bringing sandwiches.
It's not the cinema.
You bring sandwiches to the track.
Yeah.
That's what you do. You go out with your dad and you bring your sandwiches and your flask of tea.
It's like
you go and watch motor racing with your dad or your mum or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's what you do. It's not something you can't bring your sandwiches in. No, and your flask as well.
I haven't saved £1,500 for this weekend.
Yeah, no, fuck that.
Well, to be fair, I joke that for Formula 1 it probably is that. For a family of 4, for grandstands, for everything.
Well,
if you want to eat, burgers or hot dog or fish and chips or whatever from paella from any stand, if you wanted to eat all out the whole weekend, including your tickets, you're looking at easily over £2,000. And I'm
if
not
you go to the Caribbean and just have 2 weeks in the Caribbean and sit on a bloody sun lounger all week for 2 weeks, and you'd spend less than you would to go for a bloody Silverstone weekend. It's ridiculous. Yeah, stupid. What's the bloody point? And
but that's Formula 1. But MotoGP is still affordable. But bikers, as you said, are tight. So it's getting harder every year. And I've been watching some old World Superbike videos at Donington Park when I used to go, and I've been watching some recent videos of World Superbikes there. And I just think, you know what, the foggy S's aren't the same as they used to be. It's faster through there. I'm not saying what people think you are. I'm not saying that. I'm like, it wouldn't be the end of the world if it went to Donington, because you're never going to change some of these blokes' mind or women's minds. It was good how it was back in my day, and it still is better at Donington because it's the natural hills, and that makes you can see the bikes without having to pay for a stand. I get that. I actually get that.
God, how the tables have turned.
But the thing is, you still got to buy. You still got to buy. You still got to knock down the old toilets, build new ones. There's no start and finish grandstand. I mean, what Grand Prix track has no start and finish grandstand? That needs to change.
That's insane.
So it would need to be changed, but I wouldn't be upset. I honestly wouldn't, because at least we'd have more than 50,000 through the gates, I reckon. Oh, it's back. It's Donington Park. It's spelled double N, by the way.
No, it's not.
No, I'm joking.
It's Donington.
Because those people think that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Right. I think that's about all we've got time for. We've covered everything that we need to cover.
Yeah.
So once again, Happy New Year. Thank you very much for joining the Elbows Down MotoGP podcast. After a short hiatus. We will be back next week, where we will be hopefully talking about some more news and all that sort of stuff. There will be some more exciting things happening. We've also got a few more team launches in the interim while we're waiting for the next episode. And then in a couple of weeks' time, Jimmy, we have
Keith Ewan.
We have Keith Ewan,
someone I've listened to since I was a kid. Obviously, an ex-racer, but I mean, a lot of the current generation remember him as one of the best broadcasters of our time, from the late 80s all the way till 2018 or 19. I think it was last season MotoGP. So I met him in 2015 in Magellan when we had a couple of beers, and we always spoke over socials now and again over the last 10 years. And finally, I said we've agreed to he's agreed to come on the podcast for an hour. And he says he's going to shoot from the hip. He doesn't need to see the questions or anything like that, which I love about Keith. So that's going to be really good. Can't wait for that. And that will actually just be after the first test. Even better. So that should be a really, really good episode.
I think really why Keith is saying that he's going to shoot from the hip is because he's seen the majority of our podcasts and thought, it's all right, there's nothing they can ask me that I won't know.
So that I can't wait for that. But yeah, we'll obviously have a few more before then. So, but thanks for tuning in, folks.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. We'll speak to you all again next week, and then Keith Ewan in a couple of weeks' time. And I hope you've had a marvellous start to your 2025, and I hope you're all as excited as we are for the beginning of the season. We'll see you all again next week. Toodle pip.
Stop.